Hi, everyone. So you'll notice in my last video that I am going to show you over the process of this channel how much of a woman I truly am, but also how much my ADHD really does affect me. And I go off on little tangents. So in the last video, we were talking about one of the biggest struggles in relationships that women tell me all the time about men, and it's that men don't communicate, right? And so I'm hoping you at least got the concept to start off with that men are actually exceptionally good at communication. It's just we don't listen because they have a very simple dialogue as far as how they communicate. What I want to talk about now is is why men stop communicating. And it's not any different for men or women in this particular scenario. So I'm going to start this off by giving you an example and asking you to sort of think about this for a second. If every time you sat to have a conversation with someone that you love and care about, they told you you were wrong, that you didn't mean what you were saying, that they know you better, that you didn't tell the whole story, that you need to share more, what would you do? Now, even as a woman, I simply stop talking. It's pointless, right? I don't feel like arguing it till I'm blue in the face. And the last thing any of us want to do as human beings is prove what we're saying. So when men aren't communicating well in their relationship, it's because they're not being listened to, which I'm hoping I made the point in my last video, outside of adding all kinds of things because I am a woman and because I'm ADHD, and because even though I don't like to talk when I'm not in my office, I am in my office right now. And when I'm in my office, Carlin Ray comes out and she loves to gab. So, um, so the truth of the matter is men actually communicate really well. They communicate in more ways than just with words. And as women, um, I think it would be beneficial if we learnt that a little bit more. So the first sort of, and you're going to understand this in my videos a lot. I do, the first thing and the second thing, and this is so important. And that's because in my brain at that exact second, super important. And it's like sort of the only thing that matters. And I'll come back and show you another 1,000 things that matter, I assure you. But I'm hoping that at least a part of what you got out of the last video was that men typically say what they mean and mean what they say, and they don't use a lot of words in their communication. I also hope you understand that they stop talking when they get told that what they're saying isn't everything, it isn't meant. I deal with a lot of female clients that get very frustrated with their husbands, and their husbands don't actually understand why, and push and push and push. And nobody, it doesn't matter what gender you are, nobody likes to communicate when they're being pushed. But the other thing I'd like you to understand is that men communicate in more than one way. They communicate with more than words. Okay. If you want to know how your husband feels about you or how he's doing in his relationship and how you're doing in the way that you are in the relationship with him, and if you're meeting his needs, not just him meeting yours, then you need to pay attention even closer to their actions. When men are truly involved with their partner, when they feel connected, when they feel like they've been heard, when they feel like they've been understood, when they're feeling supported, and they're not being told what they're thinking and what they're not thinking. Because again, it doesn't matter what sex you are. Nobody likes to be told what they're thinking and not thinking. But as women, we are sure good at telling everybody what they're thinking and not thinking. They show us, men, I'm talking about men, they show us very clearly how they're feeling. So men very rarely, and I actually find this sad, and when I'm talking to clients that have children that are boys, and I pick up on the sensitivity of a boy. So when I, come across a situation where I'm picking up on a very sensitive male child, I one of the first things that I do is share tools of how to deal with that sensitivity in them, because it it sort of gets beat out of them, if you will. For many generations, men have been told to suck it up, and it's not like you get to sit in an active war zone and hold your gun and start bawling like a 2-year-old and saying that you are hurting so desperately because you're killing people. So the sensitivity in men often get sort of pushed or manipulated or beaten out, emotionally, psychologically, sometimes physically, depends on the situation. So men have also learned how to communicate with their actions. And this is where a really big sort of disconnect in relationships come in, because women expect men to understand their words and not take all of their actions of how things are going to be, and men expect women to take their actions of how things are going to be. And I'll just give you a prime example. When women get into relationships, more often than not, we're putting our best foot forward, and so we want to show how we are the ultimate caretakers, and we will take such good care of you. And I hear this complaint in my office with women who are struggling in their relationships and their marriages all the time, who are thinking about leaving their relationships. And a extremely common thread is that the men don't do their share, and women. And so I'm going to actually give you just an actual real example. Okay, I hear so often that how women are so tired of being their husband's mother, which always makes me laugh, because I've never actually had to be my husband's mom, and I've never had to be my husband's mom because I never started trying to be my husband's mom. But as women, we typically want to be the perfect woman, the perfect mom, the perfect caretaker, the perfect keeper. So you get into a relationship and you're taking care of everything, and they come home to home cooked meals all the time, and the house is clean. And, I mean, some of them are even rubbing the shoulders, or, rubbing their feet once they get home. And, oh, baby, you just had such a rough day. You're such a hard worker. You're just so important to me. And so they're taking really good care. And men, just so you understand, when women do that, are thinking to themselves, all right, well, this is how she wants to do her relationship. This is how it's always going to be, right? Men are sort of simple that way. What you show me is what I'll expect. I only expect what you already show me you're going to give me, right? And so they get really comfortable because it's easier. If I gotta tell you, so again, I talked in my last video about my husband and I having a different dynamic. As much as my husband is the man of the house, and he absolutely is, and he makes all the decisions, he's also the caretaker of the house. So especially now that our kids have grown, they'll come for Sunday dinner and ask me to make a meal, and I barely remember how to cook what it is they want me to cook. And because I'm not the cooker, I'm not the cleaner, I'm not the laundry. I've never been the laundry doer. That's a total different conversation. I don't like laundry. I would much rather buy new clothes. But I don't do the laundry. I don't do the cleaning. I don't change the litter box. I don't do any. I work. I'm like that workaholic man who's never available because he's working all the time, right? I'm the provider. I provide the income, and I'm working constantly, and so my husband takes care of everything. And fortunately for me, I just don't like any of those things. And because I wasn't looking for a relationship when my husband and I first got together, I certainly didn't put that best foot forward, fortunately. So he never came to expect it. And so I'm very lucky when I actually do something like make a meal, or he feels like he is absolutely the king of the castle, and today is his birthday, even though it's not. Super excited, feels like it's a treat. And whereas me, I'm the total opposite. I don't even know how to make a cup of tea. How I make a cup of tea now is I look at my husband and go, baby, could you make me a cup of tea? So I am a very spoiled, very well taken care of wife. And before any of you women watching this go to your husbands and say, that's how I want to be treated from now on, understand my husband's a very well taken care of husband too, and he doesn't have to worry about anything financially. And he gets to have whatever kind of vehicle he wants and buy whatever he wants and do whatever he wants, because we've built a successful practice. And I he has the best computer toys you could possibly imagine. And, you know, I'm married to a 50-plus-year-old gamer. So, but where I'm going here, and my point that I was making, because again, remember ADHD and I'm like squirrel. The point that I'm making is that men show with actions, and typically physical actions. They show their emotions with physical actions. So one of the things whereas women create a situation where they feel like they'll be needed, and then they resent actually being needed. And that's the point that I want to make about the last example. So, you know, women start off and they're taking care of the house and they're cooking all the meals and they're taking care of everything. And then I'm talking to them 5 or 6 years later, 7 years later, and they are pissed. Okay. These women are mad because now their husband's expecting them to come home to a supper made and the house cleaned, and they're feeling like they have to do everything, and they don't understand that they created that dynamic. And I think this is very important regardless of whatever relationship you're ever in, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a coworker, whether it's a parent versus a child, whether it's a marriage. It doesn't matter. You train the people in your life how to be with you. It's that simple. You train people in your life by the actions that you do. And so men are very expressive about how much they love and how much they care based on their actions, how well they provide, how well the story out there behind every successful man is a strong woman is not actually a lie. Because when men are getting everything that they need in their relationship, and they're feeling adored, and they're feeling needed, and they're feeling like they matter, they want to provide, they want to take care of in every natural way. And my relationship is no exception to the rule. Just because my husband doesn't have to provide financially, and really that comes down to, I happen to be the one that knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life and how I wanted to build, and he didn't care. He worked to make an income and pay for his family. He didn't work because that's what he wanted to do. He didn't, you know, he chose an industry that he was good at, not necessarily that he was in love with. Um, I guess I was raised with more confidence than he was, and belief in myself. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be and how I wanted it to look. So I took on that tendency. And because I'm the provider, he takes care of absolutely everything else, because men are the ultimate caretakers. Okay. So women love to take care of their men. They love to make their men feel important, but we love to take care of them because of a few reasons. Because we want them to need us, because we want to be in control, and honestly, because we don't think they're going to do it right. So it's easier for us to do it ourselves. And so we just sort of set that up from the very beginning, because, you know, like it or not, women do not actually think men are as bright as we like to claim we think you are, right? So whereas men they need to be needed. Okay, men need to be needed. And the more they're needed, and the more they feel needed, and the more they feel like they need to protect and um, core care for their partner, the more they will do. So they will become more successful, they will make more money, they will work harder, they will bring more to the table. And so because of that, when a man truly feels needed and he truly feels loved, he shows how much he loves with action versus words. This is important to understand. You got to understand, and I'm absolutely going to talk about love languages and stuff on when I'm talking about relationships on this channel, but it's important to understand that when a man is working really, really hard and he's providing really well for his family, okay, he does that because he believes that that's how he can show you how much he loves you. That's his worth. Okay. So he doesn't see himself as an overly attentive, you know, touchy feely, communicative guy. So instead, he makes sure that you don't ever have a financial worry. He makes sure that you get to have whatever you want whenever you want to have it. That is truly, it's called acts of service. That is truly how he is showing you that he loves you. Okay. Another way that a man will show that he loves you is how he treats you when you give him attention. So these are things that you want to pay attention to. Men want you to men in your relationships. Okay, they want their woman to sit on their lap and give them attention, and they want the woman to instigate the intimacy for that afternoon or evening, and they want the woman to share their fantasies, and they want the woman to talk about a man's dream come true is to come home after a long day at work, walk into the bedroom, and their wife's laying on the bed completely naked, doing stuff to herself. I mean, that's, talk about a man's fantasy, right? So they want those connections. They want to feel that connection when they love you. And so, they work really hard, they try really hard, and they give a lot of attention. They give a lot of physical attention. So you'll notice that one of the ways that men communicate is by touching you. Okay, they do a lot of touching you. I never question. And when you give a man, as a woman, when you give a man an opportunity to actually show you how much he loves you, and you give him the opportunity to say what he has to say and not try to push it into another conversation or tell him that he's wrong and you know him better, they love giving you love, right? There is never a second that goes by that I don't know my husband loves me. I mean, I can't walk by the man without him attacking me, which is certainly not an insult. It's lovely. And even though it drives me crazy at the moment because I got 1,000 other things I need to do, and I didn't actually need him to, grab my boob or play with my belly button. My husband has a thing about my belly. It drives me insane. I hate it. But he constantly wants to touch. And that's because it's a communication for him. He is showing me, in the last video, I told you that men typically communicate with very few words and a whole lot of action. He's showing me how much he loves me all the time. And because I'm actually paying attention to that, I never feel like he doesn't love me. I never feel like I'm not completely supported and completely loved and adored and taken care of, and because I am. And that's because I pay attention to what he does, not what I expect him to do. I pay attention to what he does. See, because I'm not him. I'm not him. And so I can't decide or preconceive, even though I try, what he should or shouldn't do to show me how he feels. I'm not him. And this is a problem for men and women. Men want women to show them a certain way, and women want men to show them a certain way. And we're not paying attention to how the individual you're in a relationship with, regardless of what sex they are, what individual you're in a relationship with, how they're showing you and communicating with you that they love you. Because once you register what your partner's love communication is, and acknowledge it and understand that it's true, you will notice it all the time. Men are typically a lot more touchy, even if it's just little touches. They're walking by. I can give you a list of things that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt men do when they love their partner, regardless of how they grew up. They put their hand on your back. They walk on the outside and put you on the inside. If they really feel like it is their job to take care of you, they'll, put the groceries in the car and bring and carry all the heavy stuff and do all the heavy lifting. I mean, really, that's sort of what they do. They're the heavy lifters. They touch you when they're walking by you, whether it's their hand on your shoulder. More often than not, they're actually touching your back. There's, they guide you to places. I didn't know this for a long time, even as a child. My father used to guide me everywhere I went, and I didn't realize as a child, I thought he was just trying to control my every move. I didn't realize he was protecting me. Men are very protective, instinctually protective by nature, and so they show a lot of their love that way. Okay, they will eat what they don't want to eat because they know you want to. They will let you pick a movie because they don't care. As long as they get to sit with you for the next, as long as they get to Netflix and chill, they're cool. They don't really care, right? When those aren't being shown, okay, when they're not giving you those things, you have either squashed their masculinity. So you've either intentionally or unintentionally judged and decided that they're not giving you enough, and they've decided to stop trying. Or, And you'll know that you've done that if at some point in your life with them, that is the attention that they used to give. They did used to touch you when they were walking by you. They did used to do those things. They did used to put you on the inside lane. They did used to, help you out of the car. They did used to do those things, and they're not anymore. It's because they've given up. It's because you've tried to break their masculinity, whether you did it intentionally or unintentionally. Really isn't the main focus at this point. It's that's why. Okay. If they're never doing it, if they've never given that kind of attention, if they're not, um, you know, vying to spend time with you as soon as they get a chance, if um, they're using another way to know that as much as they love you, they feel like you've broken them, is they use their work as their excuse. I know a lot of very hardworking men that still give their wives lots of attention, but that attention is appreciated, it's acknowledged, it's recognized, it's not a requirement. They're not getting told over and over and over how they're failing. And as women, we don't actually realize that we do this, but we do. We are really good at pointing out their failures, but we're not really good at listening to what ours are. I mean, and I'm speaking for me too. I don't see it as judgment or anything if I tell my husband something, but if he tells me I look a little fat in that outfit, I'm taking it personal, just so you know. If he tells me something that is bothering him or something he doesn't like, I'm offended. I take offense, and I've really had to work on that over the years and understand that he's not actually saying these things to upset me. He's saying them because he loves me, and there's no judgment, and he doesn't care that I look fat in that outfit. He's just letting me know because he knows how uncomfortable I'll be out there if that's how I feel, right? So men are very attentive, and so when we've lost that, when they were attentive and then they stop being attentive, it's because their masculinity, who they are at the core, how they show how they care about you, has been judged, ridiculed. They're told way too often what's wrong and what they're doing wrong, not even what's struggling in the relationship, but why it's their fault. Like any other person on the planet, they're just going to give up. Okay, so that one is something we create as the partners, not something they created. But if you're in a relationship, you're with a guy and he's not doing any of those things, I don't care where he grew up. I don't care how he grew up. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He may like you. He may want to keep you around. You may do, but he's not madly in love with you. And it doesn't matter who I talk to. We're all looking for something that we're madly in love with. And I am actually going to do some videos about dating and stuff too, because I deal with all of that a lot. I mean, really, in my office, my specialty is business and success, relationship and success, and emotions and success. I don't talk about money because I'm bad with money, and I don't talk about things that I really don't care a lot about. So I will be talking about, when I'm in the love section of this channel, I'll be talking about dating and relationships and what goes wrong and what doesn't. But see, the other thing, so when I need to back up again because I just went squirrel and was going to go on to a different topic and I'm not quite finished. When a man doesn't give those attentions, when he doesn't do those things, when he doesn't text you because he wants to speak to you, when he doesn't call you, when he does go out with his buddies all the time, not once in a while, ladies, he's entitled to have a life, which is the other sort of mistake that some of us women make. We think that their lives should completely alter and change. But when he doesn't do all of those things and hasn't from the very beginning, he's not that into you. It's really simple. He's just not that into you. And you keep pushing and trying because you don't want to be alone and because you want him to want you, right? Again, human nature, we want to be wanted, but he doesn't. And so just for any of you that are experiencing that in a relationship, you deserve so much better. You deserve so much better. And for those of you that are experiencing it in your relationship now, you really got to stop and think about what you're doing. And how you're treating him. In my last video, I talked about one of the things that my husband says is sort of the reason he loves me the most is because I accept him unconditionally. And in my last video, I told you how that was an issue for me till he was able to explain it. But he's not joking. And I have conversations with women all the time, and they're always telling me what their husbands are doing wrong, how they're wasting their time, or how they shouldn't be 30 years old and still gaming, or shouldn't be this or shouldn't be that. Or I and I'm going to explain this as me, but I think this is everybody. When you're living your day-to-day life, you got to wear a hat for your job. You got to wear a hat as a parent. You got to wear all these different hats. You got to be all these different people. But at home, when you're not working, and when you're in your home, and you want to be real, right? You want to be completely accepted. If your thing is to wear old pajamas and curl up on the couch, you want your partner to love you because they think you look adorable in your old ripped up pajamas, and not get frustrated and pissed off that you're not sitting in lingerie every day. Or if you're tired and you just want to veg and watch movies for the next 2 days, I'm big on my Harry Potter marathons when I'm emotionally overwhelmed. You want to be just accepted for that, and be able to do that. And when you're not being accepted, when you're not being when you're being told what you should and shouldn't do, and what's right and what's wrong, it's annoying and it gets irritating. When my husband talks about being completely accepted, like, I'm going to share an example for you that a lot of women will think I'm crazy about. My husband's a gamer. And when we first got together, one of the things, once we got past the toy thing that I talked about in the last video, when we first decided we were going to have this relationship, I sat him down. I'm like, okay, so this is going to sound crazy, but what I want to know is just throw it all on the table. Tell me who you are, what your worst qualities are, what you think you're lazy about, and I'm going to do the same. And so we did that. And he sat down and told me, he's like, I love to game. It's an escape for me. I go onto my computer and I go into my game and I just lose myself. And it gives me a chance to sort of reset and rebalance. And so I looked at him and said, I will never in our life, if no matter how long we're together, whether we're together for a week or 60 years, I will never give you a hard time about your gaming. And I don't. As a matter of fact, I make sure that he has all of the top gaming stuff. And even when he doesn't like to spend money on himself. My husband's pretty cheap, unless it's me. He spends lots of money on me, but he doesn't like to spend money on himself. So I'll go, and when I see him getting frustrated with his keyboard, or I think he's frustrated because his computer screen's too small, or I'll go buy him a big monitor, or I'll replace his keyboard and mouse without him even knowing, or I'll see a game on the system that I know he's going to love, and I'll buy it and send it to him as a gift. Or I don't just accept that he's a gamer. I promote that he's a gamer because I know what he does with it. I know what it does for him. And when he goes through periods where he's doing a lot of gaming, I know he's going through a lot of things emotionally, and he's just not dealing very well, because men don't process the same. And so I leave him be and I let him game, and it gets to be, I don't mean I totally need to actually take that back, because I just said I let him game. I don't let him game. He's a human who gets to do whatever the hell he wants to do, and that happens to be what he's doing, and I don't give him a hard time while he's doing it. I should probably say that the right way. And instead, I look at it as an advantage. I get to go, soak in my tub and read a book and have some downtime. I never complain about not having enough time for me, because he's a gamer. So I know when he goes to his game, I get to go spend some time and just sort of focus on me, which is wonderful. When you're giving your partner a hard time, when you're frustrated with the things that they're doing, you're not accepting them. You're not accepting them. And when you're in your relationship, what you want more than anything on this planet, excuse me, is to be accepted. And so you got to give what you're looking for. You got to give what you're looking for. I think it's so important. And hopefully in my next video, I'll talk a lot more about accepting the partners in your life and the people in your life a lot more than we actually do Just because we think it doesn't mean we're right. And just because we believe it doesn't mean it's true. And just because we've decided doesn't mean that we're the deciding factor for everybody. You are not the judge, jury, and rule maker and qualifier for the people in your lives. You are the person that should be loving them enough to give them the space to be who they really are when they're with you. And if you're not doing that, then that's affecting your relationship. And you're missing out on some really great things. I'm not just saying that as a relationship coach, which I am. I'm saying that as somebody who has been truly very happily married for 25 years, and my partner is without a doubt my absolute best friend, and he is the person I want to spend all of my time with. And when things like 2 years of lockdown take place, we didn't struggle at all. We work together, we live together, we spend 24 hours a day together, 7 days a week together. I go to we travel together, we do everything together. When I go for a few hours to go play poker, by the time I come home, I'm coming home because I miss him and I just want to be home with him, right? We spend so much of our time together. And the reason that we do is because we accept each other completely and we give each other the freedom to be who we really are, and we're not deciding who each other is going to be. What happens in your life when you have a really great relationship is like nothing else I could ever describe. It is the best thing in the world. It is how you know you are truly wealthy. You are truly rich when you can have that kind of relationship. So again, I hope everybody has a fabulous day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, do all of those, fun things, whatever it is you're going to do. And I'll talk to you again really soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.